You may not know it, but you have a GoZone. 2 productive hours in every day where you can get the most important things done. Listen in as today's guest, ex-high performance coach at Collingwood Football Club, explains how to get the important stuff done every time.
Welcome to the Small Business Big Marketing Show, where successful small business owners share their secrets to take your marketing to the next level. Now here's your host, Tim Reid.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, but you, so much more importantly, are a motivated business owner ready to crank out some great marketing. And this show is made possible by the very good folk at Net Registry and 99 Designs. Big show today. This one is all about getting stuff done, about ticking things off your to-do list. And who doesn't love a bit of that action? I have a fireside chat with this fellow Mark McKeon, who basically, if you listen to this episode, if you listen to what Mark has to share, I reckon your productivity is going to increase tenfold, 20-fold, maybe even 100-fold, depending on how lower a base you are coming from. But boy, oh boy, is it a great interview. I also share a little secret that I've just started implementing again, that I've only been doing it for 2 days and already I'm seeing a productivity increase. I share a motivational marketing quote from none other than the most amazing marketer themselves, Mahatma Gandhi, of course, and we also have time for our weekly check-in. There is plenty of marketing gold dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing HQ. So let's get stuck right in.
Small Business Big Marketing with Tim Reid. smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.
So, how's your week been? Has it been good? Mine's been a ripper. Here's my little secret that I said I'd share with you. I've started moving more. I've just been recovering, as you may know, from a broken elbow, which has kind of held me back a bit, but now I'm back in the gym 2 days in, and maybe you can hear it in my voice. I am feeling motivated, energized, and it's amazing what a little bit of exercise can do. And I know as business owners, we get stuck in our businesses behind the computer, behind the counter, and we just don't move enough. So if that's you, I've got to encourage you to maybe go and listen to this show while you're going for a walk, or do go to the gym, or I don't know, just that whole moving more thing is just so important. I'm quite excited too because I'm starting back. I've started back at gym, but tomorrow I start back with a mate as well, my old mate Benny, who we're going to be going 4 days a week, and it's just structure. And it gets the old body moving. So I'm excited by that. Hey, I'm also excited by this insight that I found on Facebook recently. And it just reminds us, as past guest Jeffrey Hazlett reminded us recently, how much the marketing world and the business world has changed. Check this out. In 2015, Uber, the world's largest taxi company, owns no vehicles. Facebook, the world's most popular media, creates no content. Alibaba, the most valuable retailer in the world, has no inventory. And Airbnb, the world's largest accommodation provider, owns no real estate. What a great reminder of just how much the world's changed. And I want to add to that these changes are playing into your hot seat. They are to our advantage, the small business owner. We are in such a good position to market our business these days because there are so many wonderful things available to us. And the fact that you are listening to this show is a great reminder that the changes are playing in our favour. And the amount of feedback that I get from listeners saying, you know, they're implementing these new ideas that they're hearing on this show, I think it's fantastic. So I hope you are one of them. I also want to welcome 40 new members to the Small Business Big Marketing Forum. They're high-performing financial advisors and or insurance brokers, and they have all joined the forum together, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring in terms of marketing discussion, and I'm looking forward to being able to help them with their marketing. But it's going to take the Small Business Big Marketing Forum to another level. There's already some wonderful discussion in there every day. Got some great webinars coming up exclusively for forum members. So if you do want to take your marketing to the next level, if you want to crank it up, head over to crankmymarketing.com and join. You'll be in there within a couple of minutes. And I'd love to know how your week's been. So head over and hit me up at Twitter. My Twitter handle is @Timbo Reid, REID, and tell me how your week's been. Righto, coming up, you are about to discover your GoZone. But first, a word from a couple of companies that can turbocharge your marketing. Now, you know, Net Registry make this show possible, and they're very good at websites. And I want to share with you 3 characteristics of high-performing websites to see whether you and your website tick those boxes. Number 1, great websites have contact details front and centre on every page. They make it easy for visitors to contact you. Number 2, great websites use a very simple content management system. Net Registry build all their sites in WordPress, and it makes it so easy for you, the website owner, to effect change to your own website. Number 3, simple navigation. They're easy to get around. So if your website is underperforming, head over to netregistry.com.au and they can get your online marketing sorted. Now, as you know, this show is also brought to you by 99 Designs. Maybe you see your company as innovative, perhaps it's fun and youthful, or maybe you're all about trust. But whatever it is, you need a logo. You need branding that shows off your strongest traits. It's easy at 99 Designs, where you complete an online brief and then let designers from around the world compete to deliver a design you'll love. I've got a little a freebie coming up. Stay tuned to help you write an online brief, or to write a creative brief, full stop. Stay tuned for that. There's a reason that 99 Designs is the number one choice of business owners looking for a graphic design partner. For under $300, you'll have dozens of custom designs to choose from within just 7 days. All 100% money back guaranteed if you don't like them. 99 Designs has helped over, check this, 350,000 businesses create their brands. If you want to build your brand without busting a budget, 99 Designs is the solution you've been looking for. For a free $99 upgrade on your first design, head over to 99designs.com/SBBM. Do that. It's a really, really good freebie, that one. Here's another freebie. A free webinar that I'm running on Wednesday, April 8, 2015 at 9 a.m. Melbourne, Australia time. I'm joined by the lead designer at 99 Designs, and we are going to cover 9 steps to perfecting your creative brief. How cool is that? Free webinar, no sell, just an hour of amazing, amazing content. Here's the website address you need to register at. It's bit.ly, bit.ly/creative-brief-webinar. So join us. You can ask questions along the way. 9 steps to perfecting your creative brief. A free webinar with the lead designer from 99 Designs. Righto, let's get stuck into today's guest. It is Mark McKeon. I recently did a roadshow around Australia with Mark for an insurance company, and I sat in on one of Mark's sessions. Absolutely motivational, inspirational, and entertaining. Mark owns a company called Mischief Motivation Attitude. He was also the high-performance coach at the Collingwood, the most hated AFL Aussie Rules football team in Australia, but he was the high-performance coach there for 15 years, and he acted as the club's runner for 250 games. He spent a lot of time with high-performing individuals, and he then wrote a book that I've got in my hand here called Get in the GoZone, Making the Most of Me. The GoZone is a wonderful concept Mark came up with that allows you to identify 2 hours in every day that allows you to perform at your peak. This is a wonderful interview if you want to get more of the important stuff done in your business and in life. Now, the Skype connection, a little bit dodgy here and there, but absolutely manageable, so stick with it. I started off by asking Mark, what's his superpower?
My superpower is when I need to, I put on my Iron Man suit and I'm impervious to criticism.
Do you cop a bit, do you?
No, I don't. But I as a keynote speaker, I often see colleagues who will have they'll get 100 pieces of feedback, 100 pieces of written feedback, and 98 of them are glowing. Just this is the best person I've ever seen. I've got to see more of this person. And there'll be one that'll say it was too short, and one that'll say it was too long, and they just they focus so much on the negative, and they just make life too hard for themselves because and it just brings them down. So I don't mean that I'm I'm not open to improving or anything like that, but I think sometimes you've got to have a thick skin and just do what you're going to do and not be distracted by things like that.
It's so true, isn't it? We can focus on that. It's like the minority gets heard.
Absolutely. Even I'm not a great golfer, but I love golf, and there's a thing in golf that's called fearless golf, and what it's basically about is stop worrying about the consequences of your shot and just do what you do what you know is right. And if you can apply that skill to a lot of things in life, then I think it helps you. And again, I don't mean you being closed to self-improvement, but sometimes you just got to get out of your own way.
It's interesting. Back in the day, mate, when I was young and reckless, I used to play a bit of golf with my mates, and we'd play on a Sunday morning after a big night out, right? So we'd roll up to the course with this screaming hangover and just not have a care. It was like, there was no lining up. There was no consideration of club selection, or it was just like walk up, hit the ball. And you know what? We'd hit that ball as well as any time we've ever hit it because we didn't care.
That's exactly it. I had a similar experience where my mum and dad were sort of getting on, and I took them out for a game, and I spent half the time trying to find their balls and stop them putting their clubs in each other's bag by mistake and rolling the buggy over near the trees. And when I got to the end of the 9 holes, I'd actually had the best score I'd ever had, and I had not even counted. Whereas often you're playing and you're very conscious of how am I going, and I think a lot of business people are like that too. They're so focused on their monthly target that they actually stop doing what they can do well just naturally.
So I used the word not care before, and it's not about not caring, is it? What is it though? Like, what's this concept of like just? I often talk. Listeners will know I talk about the woo-woo and just kind of letting the universe deliver, but I know that's maybe too frivolous. What is this? What do we got to do?
No, I think it's it sounds in a way a little bit ambiguous, but you actually get better results when you stop thinking about or focusing too much on results. So it's hypnotists call it bypassing the critical mind, which is, of course you can lift your leg, but for that moment when people are hypnotised, you just switch that part of your brain off. There's actually a technical term for it. It's like disassociation, but it's about the irony that you'll get better results by stopping focusing on the results, because an over-focus on results is just distracting you and diluting your brain power.
Yeah, interesting.
So, look, I absolutely believe it, yeah. And in fact, my background being involved in the AFL, one of the big differentiating factors between a lot of the players I saw, except for the really elite players who were just a bit better, but a lot of the mainstream players, the ones who succeeded at that level were the ones who were just able to go out and play, and they were able to switch off that part of the brain that was thinking, how many kicks have I had, or I hope I'm not going to get dragged off the ground. They could just actually go out and do it without worrying too much about the consequences. So it's an easy thing to talk about, but it's a great skill to have.
Is there a key to locking that part of your brain?
Yeah, it is. It sounds a bit trite to say confidence, but it's absolutely confidence. So that from a business perspective, you might have all businesses have got to sell in some way. They're selling a service or a product. So you've obviously got your targets, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have those targets, but once you set those targets, you've got to then develop a belief around that target.
Yeah, right.
And the belief is about what the system is in order to reach that target. And then it's about focusing absolutely on not the target, but what are the steps to actually get you towards that target. I often say in my presentations that when I was a kid, I was a cricketer. At one time, I could remember batting And I was so focused on making at least 40, because if you made 40, you were sort of through to the next round of selection in these regional trials. And so here I am focused on the result instead of just watching the ball and dealing with each ball one at a time. And that's something I've sort of tried to train myself to do. But you've got to have the confidence to do it. And if you don't have the confidence to do it, then you've got to look a bit deeper and say, well, why don't I have the confidence? Am I lacking skills? Am I under-resourced? Or is my focus in the wrong area? So it's very hard to switch off that results focus if you don't have true confidence. So, I guess my opinion is you've got to have the target and then build this, whatever the skills or structure you need to get the confidence. And once you've got that, then it's a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, great. So what that's all about, and you've been involved in the highest level of Australian rules footy going around in the AFL, albeit for Collingwood. Sorry about that, but it's a joke for Melbourne listeners, really, isn't it? But what you have observed, I guess, and being a part of is that in fact, I saw Collingwood train yesterday down when I was going down Punt Road, and all the training they do, or any high-level team does, they put the effort in during the week. The coach says, this is the game plan. This is what we are going to do. Then on the day, when it's time to execute, you just execute. Like there is no more thought. It's like, this is what we've trained to do. This is what we've been told to do. Do it.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly the point I was trying to make before, about you just get involved in it. They call it the bubble, but that's a little bit hard to get to. You might be lucky to get into that zone a few times in your career, but it's about having that confidence that you've done the work. And I know you feel like you need to criticise Collingwood, Tim, but there's only two types of people in Melbourne. There's Collingwood supporters and people who want to be Collingwood supporters. You know that, don't you?
That's crap. And I can't believe you even said that, because you played for Melbourne, and I don't know where your allegiances lie anymore.
Yeah, both. I'm absolutely totally loyal to both of them.
Yeah, great.
Demons and the Pies.
Great. Yeah, well, fortunately this is a global show, so I have to move on because most people don't know what we're talking about. But the thing is, Mark, fascinating conversation. Can anyone be a high achiever based on what you're saying?
I think that, absolutely can. Yeah, I think it's about defining what that means. So I'm a big believer in structure and discipline. And I guess my background in working with athletes shows a lot of lessons for people in business. And I think the main lessons are around structure and discipline. It's like you're saying when you're watching any high-performing team train, all the work is done. So the game should be relatively easy. It's like someone who's going to climb a mountain, they do that much training, the actual climb or the fun run or whatever people do, that should be relatively easy. So I think high performance is about defining what that is in your business or in your life. And once you've got that defined, then you've got to have a plan to make that happen. And then you've got to execute the plan. But I actually think that for most people, the hardest bits are the first two, and that's setting the goal and designing the plan. I think once there's something in place and there's something to follow, most people like the rigor and the discipline of actually following and executing on that. So some people say, I lack the discipline to do it. Then if you dig a bit deeper, most of the time those people don't really have the correct structure in place. It's too loose, there's too much wriggle room, or those structures aren't directly related to whatever the goal is, the high performance. And then you don't have like the continual circle of continuous improvement and high performance. So it's about taking out the guesswork. Set your goal, define what that is, set the structure, whether you need new skills, new resources, new discipline to get there, and then just execute it. And most people enjoy the discipline of that.
Does that mean, because it's funny, like I've talked a lot about kind of planning versus just going off gut feel, instinct, Are you into planning things to within an inch of their life, or do you leave room for things that just like that business decision, that marketing idea, it just feels right, I'm going to do it? Or is that just way too flippant in your book?
No, it's not. No, I definitely do that because, again, like you, I'm a keynote speaker, and we try to get some humour into our presentations. And the best humour,
I do.
You do, yeah. The best humour is The best humour is always natural humour that just develops on the day. It might be a noise someone makes, or some background or comment someone from the audience makes. So you need to absolutely have that spontaneity. So from that point of view, never want to plan things because, again, as a presenter, it can sound too practiced and too tried if you just planned it within an inch of its life. And in business, there's actually quite a bit of research about the actual physiological processes that are happening when people get a gut feeling that something is right. It's actually, there's some pathways to the brain that's linked to all of your experience and your expertise and your past framework. So no, absolutely, spontaneity is in, unless from a business point of view you have key tasks to do and you're making an excuse not to do those key tasks by delving into this spontaneity area, or you're making an excuse for yourself to get away from doing the hard things that you know you should be doing.
Yeah,
so
right.
That's like giving yourself an escape clause.
Yeah, I've got a few of those escape clauses.
Most people have. Coffee, read the paper, should do a Facebook update.
Mate, I just walked the dog before hitting record with you today. I thought I had to get out. I've been working hard all morning, and
of course you have.
The dog was getting a bit restless. So
almost 40 minutes work. Yeah.
Correct. So, Mark, off the back of your time at Collingwood Football Club and your own personal experiences, because you've been a high achiever yourself in terms of playing footy at that level, etc., you created this concept called the GoZone. Yeah, is that pretty much, is the GoZone concept and book off the back of your time spent at Collingwood?
Partially. It's certainly that, and the other component is my trainings in human movement and physiology, and there's a lot of things happening in our bloodstream that people don't understand. They get too much adrenaline, they get a bit angry, they get a bit agitated, and they have highs and lows in their energy level. So they need a coffee in the middle of the afternoon, or they'll crash at night and then wake up wide awake on an hour or two later thinking about all the things they need to do tomorrow, which interrupts their sleep and so on. So the GoZone is really a combination of, I guess, what you would call some biochemical knowledge and background, and then observation and personal experience in sport and business. So it's really a combination of all of those things. It's one of those things, I guess, has been about 20 years in the making.
Okay.
But it's my way of sort of packaging up in a way that people can understand quite quickly and hopefully use straight away.
Well, mate, what I love about the GoZone is its simplicity. It is just, it is so beautifully simple. So listeners, what it is, and I'm going to get Mark, I mean, it's unfair to get Mark to go into huge detail because it's a full day workshop, it's a keynote, it's a book, it's all sorts of things, and I'll give you the links to it. But it is you've pretty much identified, you say all of us have 2 hours in our day where we are at our peak performance level because of what's going on in the bloodstream, because of adrenaline, because of whatever biochemistry things are happening, and that is when we should do the thing that is going to move our business forward the most. Is that kind of a fair summary?
Yeah, that's a very good summary. I guess it's in essence the ability to change gears. So there's 3 zones: the go zone that you've just described well. There's a slow zone, which is like your comfort zone, your middle gear, a mediocre level of performance, and nothing wrong with that, by the way. And then there's a no zone when you relax and you recover. But that go zone is up to 2 hours of a higher level of physical and emotional performance. So stepping up to be your best and to do those most important things. And obviously your listeners, from a marketing point of view, I'd imagine a lot of people in small business have things that they think they should be doing in regard to marketing, but they don't always get around to them. Some of the things that might just get lost at the end of the day because they're busy just doing the day-to-day stuff. And whatever the key tasks are in your business, that's what you should be doing in that precious 2 hours when you can absolutely have your highest level of charisma and impact on other people, your best decision-making, and your best ability to communicate effectively verbally or in written correspondence, to solve complex problems, to make big decisions, that's what you should be doing in the GoZone. So a lot of people have really lost the ability to focus and they get distracted very easily. And this is about having the discipline, I guess, an athlete has when they're really focused, and to apply that to your business or your life on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, we live in a world, our attention spans, I'm looking at my 3 teenage kids and observing that. I mean, my attention span's pretty average. Theirs is like 2 minutes is a long video. It's extraordinary. So it doesn't make it right either. I've got a bit of a theory that says the way technology's developed and, the thing with the mobile phone and social media and immediate communication and the expectation of others that if I text you, you'll text me back. And, it's like we just got to be on call. And, the Apple Watch, the Apple iWatch, that's not going to help things either. It's just going to make us even more kind of, accessible. But the body isn't keeping up, like technology's racing ahead.
That's right. And there you're quite right, because the vast majority of those things really, from a functional business point of view, are distractions.
Yep.
You don't need to check Facebook. You don't need to know what the stock market's doing unless you're going to make a trade in the next half an hour. You can wait to know what the barometric pressure is and 100 other things. And it just creates distraction, but it also creates a habit that we want to feed. But physiologically, what's happening is that you aren't getting an even blood chemistry of what's called neurotransmitters that you want to keep you on an even keel, and you tend to get these highs and lows, which creates fatigue, and it can create a bit of anxiety in some people and a bit of anger in others, so that you just don't get that period that you need to get the important things done and stay on track.
Yeah, right. The funny thing is too, though, like checking your email, checking social media does give you an instant hit of whatever it gives you a hit of, which kind of isn't, you want to get that hit in another way, which for your point of view is the GoZone. How do I identify those 2 hours where I'm going to be at my peak performance each day? Because it's going to be different for everyone, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it is. I personally prefer to do it in the morning. So when I do a GoZone, it's normally between 10:30 and 12:30, so up until lunchtime. The reason that I do it then is that I feel more productive in the morning. I've already got a bit of a start on the day, so I've had time to write myself a list of the key tasks. It's been a while since I've had breakfast, because most things in life are better done on an empty stomach, and a GoZone is certainly the case. You set yourself a little timer, or your phone or your watch, or an egg timer, and then when I'm finished the GoZone at 12:30, my buzzer rings, and it's all my reward is lunch. I have a bit of a break, and even though I'm still working during the rest of the day, when I'll be in the slow zone, and that's when I will check my email if the sound goes off, and I might check on other things, and there'll be text messaging backwards and forwards, the way that most people operate. But you feel liberated because you've already done the hardest, most important things of the day, as opposed to just in the back of your mind, those 3 tough calls you should have made to your clients, and the one email that's really important that you're yet to respond to, or a one-on-one with your staff that's really important is now delayed for a couple of days. Instead of those things hanging over your head and actually diluting your attention for the rest of the day, you actually think, well, I've actually done my GoZone for the morning. You will have got more done. You'll feel liberated, and it's almost like the rest of the day, you're not on holiday, you're still working, but you end the day with a much higher level of energy and a much more even spread of these neurotransmitters.
Mark, the GoZone, and listeners, I'm going to really strongly encourage you to get the book, Get in the GoZone. I read it on a 2-hour flight the other day, and it's just a ripper. But for those who don't get around to it, the GoZone looks like it is a 2-hour period of no interruptions, of like, if you can, turn off your Wi-Fi, turn off your phone, put a red flag up if you're at your desk which says I am, incommunicado, whatever you say. I mean, is that physically what it looks like?
For most people, it's very much role dependent, but there are some people who are maybe running a small business. Let's say they're a printer and they're just flat out in the office all day talking to clients and doing their organisation. they might have a dozen people out in the print room. And sometimes for them, the GoZone is about spending that time out in the factory, finding out what's going on, talking to people, making sure they're engaged.
Right.
For other people who maybe have a sales role, then for them it's absolutely about switching everything off, getting on the phone and keeping in contact with their past clients, their pipeline of clients, their referral alliances. And for them, it's not about making 10 calls, but it's about allocating a period of time and keep making calls until the time's up. And the difference there is that when you've got a list of calls, you tend to sort of work it into that number and you pat yourself on the back for making the calls. But you can sometimes do it in a very perfunctory manner. You just sort of tick and flick. But when you know you're doing it for time, then you might only make 3 calls, or you might make 10 calls or 15, but you do each call to the best of your ability. So it's about forgetting about what you've already done, what's yet to happen. It's about the thing you're doing right now. A good analogy is Olympic shooters or people who are good at darts. They can block out what's happened in the previous 2 darts and the 2 darts yet to come. It's all about that one that they're throwing at the moment. So it's all about that conversation you're having with one member of your staff. So you're not distracted, you're not checking your phone, you're not looking over their shoulder at something else, you're absolutely there. Or you're talking to a client and you're absolutely there. Or you're reading an email and you're really reading it rather than having to go back over it later. So for a lot of people it is clearing the clutter in their desk and focusing on the phone or the computer task. But whatever the task is, it's about doing it as well as you can. It could be a plumber who's marking out, to cut some pipe, or a concreter who's laying down the framework to do a pour. It's whatever your task is of making sure that you are switched on as much as you are able. You're
present.
For that time.
You're 100% present.
Yeah, and the inefficiency I see now with people who get distracted, make errors, everything from accountants who are making numerical errors, they're adding things up wrong, to people who push the wrong button on the computer, or someone who enters an order in an incorrect way, or someone who doesn't clearly articulate what they want to happen to a member of their staff, so it's not delegated properly. I think it applies in any walk of life, any business, any family situation, and it even applies to busy people who go home and they're still a bit distracted about work and they're not doing a GoZone with their kids. And kids absolutely pick up on that.
I know you're pretty strong in your book about it's 2 hours. Your GoZone every day is 2 hours. If you are an absolute freak, you might be able to do 3 hours, but you're saying 2. I'm going to challenge them. No, I think I know what your answer is going to be, but can you have niche GoZones? Can I have a GoZone for marketing my business? Can I have another GoZone for managing my staff and another one for financial management? Or is that just kind of that's going to defeat the purpose?
No, I think that works, preferably not all on the same day, because physiologically you've only really, in my opinion, got the 2 hours. I've met, I reckon, 3 people who can do a 3-hour GoZone, but only 3 out of probably tens of thousands.
Tell me about you don't have to name names. I'd love you to, but what's the characteristic? What have they got? What have they got that we haven't?
They've got,
unless I'm one of them, Mark.
They've got a level of calm. One thing they've got is a level of calmness. The second thing they've got is just an absolute level of determination. So it's a combination of those 2 things. And some people have one without the other, but don't seem to be able to do those extended GoZones.
Right.
There are, by the way, probably hundreds, if not thousands, of people who do 1 hour GoZones because they just can't get to the 2 hours. And with people who aren't overly structured or organised in their business, I actually encourage them to start with just 45 minutes, because it will seem, 45 minutes will seem like a lifetime. And people who think they're in the GoZone all day, every day, are actually in the de facto slow zone. They are nowhere near as efficient as they think they are. Of course, there's the argument that, well, what about if I've done my 2 hour GoZone in the morning and then suddenly in the middle of the afternoon my best client rings and they want an immediate response to an issue? Well, it's life and it is what it is. So you actually then jump back into a GoZone frame of mind. But the key there is to ask yourself the question, is whatever this issue is does this warrant me going back into a GoZone, or am I just sort of making an excuse here? And if it's the former, absolutely jump back into the GoZone, and you, if you like, have a credit and you have time in lieu the next day. You don't overload yourself, because if you continually overload yourself, you can't actually reach the absolute level of concentration that you need for the GoZone. But life is what it is. Life's not like a kung fu movie where the bad guys come at 5-second intervals. And some people have jobs where they get interrupted all day. And for them, it's about scheduling the best periods of time. And for them, it might be a 1 hour GoZone in the morning, a 1 hour GoZone in the afternoon, or a half an hour when they first get to work, and lock that into their diary before the phone starts ringing, or half an hour or 45 minutes at the end of the day when the phone quietens down. There's a lot of people, to be honest, Tim, they make excuses, and I can't do it because of this, but the majority of them are just blowing smoke, and they're just having some wriggle room. And we all, from a business point of view, can benefit greatly from disciplines. And if you run your own business, you have to make them self-imposed disciplines.
Yeah, great, mate. Hey, Mark, I know that so many of my listeners, and I'm included, we struggle to tick the boxes that we really need to tick. We are distracted by bright, shiny objects. We're distracted by all sorts of things. And I reckon when I read this book, I thought, my God, here's a beautifully elegant, simple solution to getting stuff done. And when I say stuff, I mean big stuff. So well done, mate, and thank you for bringing it to everyone's attention. How do people get their hands on your book?
Best would be the website, which is mmateam.com.au.
mmateam.com.au. That is your business right there. Mark McKeon, it has been an absolute pleasure, mate. I'm heading to the GoZone.
Thanks, Tim.
Well, I hope you are feeling as motivated and inspired and ready to find your GoZone as I am. It was, Mark has got some good stuff to share. I want to share my top 3 learnings from that interview, thanks to Net Registry and 99 Designs. Number 1, be impervious to criticism, or at the very least, give more weight to the pats on the back that you get. This is a bit of a common theme running through my last few episodes. Keith Abraham talked about this. Jeffrey Hazlett talked about this. Rowdy McLean talked about this. We've got to pat ourselves on the back. Just pause now, right now. Give yourself a hug. That sounded probably a little bit weird, but that was me giving myself a hug. And I want you to too. Give yourself recognise the good things that you are achieving and put aside the bad stuff or the negative stuff. Number 2, stop focusing on results and trust the planning and structure you've put in place. I loved what Mark said about that. If you do put the plans and the structure in place, then rely on that. Know that that is what's going to get you to that next level. And, high-performing clubs, sportsmen, athletes, they do this all the time. Number 3, learning from Mark's chat, just go and find your GoZone. I've got to tell you, I'll put a link in the show notes to the book. You've got to get this book. Get in the GoZone by Mark McKeon. It's like, how many pages is it? 108 pages, big writing. Not lots of words, easy to read. I read it in a 2-hour plane trip recently, and it was an absolute ripper. They're my learnings. I'd love to know what yours are. Head over to the show notes for episode 232 at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com and tell me, or hit me up on Twitter at Timbo Reid. I would love to hear what you learnt, because I learnt a heap. Righto, marketing quote of the week from Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, tomatoes, I don't know. You know who I mean. I love this quote. The future depends on what we do in the present. The future depends on what we do in the present. Love that quote. What are you doing now that's going to affect your future? What are your personal and professional development plans? What courses are you going to do? What books are you going to read? What relationships are you going to build on? Get out there and start affecting your future now by doing something positive, getting in your GoZone right now and affect your future going forward. Love that. Thank you, Mahatma Gandhi. Righto, if you enjoyed this episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show, then you're going to love the marketing gold I have in store for you. Next week, I'm joined by an IT expert turned Garbo. That's a rubbish collector for you overseas listeners, who's cleaning up on Sydney's northern beaches. And in future episodes, I chat with Olympic gold medalist Steve Bradbury and Etsy's top seller, who's making a lazy $80,000 a month. She's got a fantastic story to tell. To never miss a second, simply subscribe over on iTunes or on your favourite podcast app, and be sure to hit me up for a chat on Twitter at Timbo Reid. R-E-I-D is my handle. To book me to speak at a conference, head over to timreid.com.au. I love speaking at conferences. And if you want to pay it forward, then go ahead and tell another motivated business owner just like you about this show. And be sure to use 99designs.com/SBBM for all your design needs and Net Registry to get your online marketing sorted. A big thank you to everyone who's left a review on iTunes recently or in the show notes. I read them all and I respond to every single one of them. And a special thanks to my forum members and a big welcome to those 40 new forum members this week. I love your commitment to growing your business through smart marketing. Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. You're a motivated business owner, and you've been listening to the #1 marketing podcast in the country. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show with Tim Reid. Want more marketing goodness? Then visit smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.